Members, it's time and we have a quorum. Please be seated. First of all, I'd like to apologize to members on Tuesday. I attended an EXCO meeting, and I understand that some members prefer to meet on Tuesday and some on today, so I'd like to first apologize, and the subcommittee on West Kowloon will meet another time, so I'd like to send my apologies. The first item on the agenda, confirmation of minutes. The minutes have been shared with members, and as of now, we have not received any amendment suggestions. So can members confirm the minutes, please? Thank you. Information papers issued since the last meeting. Members received multiple papers. The details are on the agenda. Dr. K.K. Kwok is not here yet. He suggested the panel to make a site visit to Wang Chao. Ms. Tanya Chen, Chairman, it's best if we can make a visit. Well, if you can make a visit, well, it doesn't matter if I would be there. The Vice Chairman would be there. We don't have a lot of members here today, and Dr. Kwok is not here yet to explain why he wants to make a visit. So I would ask the clerk to write to members to see if they would like to attend. Well, Chairman, if you don't mind, for members who don't wish to attend, they can say no. To be honest, many parts of Wang Chao are on private land, so I don't know what we can actually see. So I would respect the wishes of members. If the majority wants to go, then I think I would go. I don't want to make a rash decision. To be honest, I don't think we need a debate on this because there is no urgency. And we have a 4-hour meeting today, so I want to get it through quickly. I don't want to argue with you, Chairman. Let me give an example. Sorry, I don't want to go into a debate with you. Some members have also raised their hands. Mr. Eddie Hsu and Mr. Wong Kok-in. There is urgency because at the Public Works Subcommittee meeting next week we would discuss Wang Chao. So if we can make a visit, then everyone can see for themselves. You say that there's a lot of private land, but the reality is opposite. There are 10 hectares of government land. Mr. Wong Kok-in, I support your suggestion. A lot of members are not here today, so a letter should be circulated to seek members' views, and we should follow the majority. There's no need to go into a debate here. All right. Mr. Leung Yu-chung, are you on the same topic? I have to draw the line. As I said, I don't want to go into a debate on this because I don't see an urgency whether or not there would be a meeting at the Public Works Subcommittee. Mr. Leung Yu-chung, Chairman, I don't think we have to confirm the visit right now. If a lot of members are interested, you can allow them to make a choice. It doesn't really matter. Why are you asking members to agree or confirm? I don't know how many members will be there. I don't want to argue this decision with you. I've made a decision. Chairman, I've not finished. This is not arguing. We are just expressing our views. I hope you can be careful in your words. I would try to be careful. So I'm just expressing my views. And that is members can choose to go if they want to. There's no need for members to agree on this. The problem is that the decision of members is different from a decision of the panel. Ms. Lau Siu Lai, I don't think we need to vote on this. I do not wish to go. I would issue a letter to see which members would like to go. We can deal with that later. Next item on the agenda for items to be discussed at the next meeting. Dr. Fernando Chang, Chairman. We just expressed our views. There is an urgency on this. I've heard you. I've heard you. So my decision is that there is no urgency. And it's impossible to arrange a visit before the PWSC meeting next week. Whether or not a visit can be arranged, you should wait till I issue a letter. I will see how many members wish to go, and then we can decide the time. We have raised our hand. We can raise our hands. If you are interested, you can raise your hands. I've said that I don't want to go into a debate on this, Dr. K.K. Kwok, Chairman. To be fair, you should ask members. The Secretariat did not say that there are difficulties, so why are you stopping us? A lot of members are not interested, and they don't have to go. So what's the problem with arranging a site visit? If the government wants to force the issue in funding application, well, there are no difficulties at all. I said that we would issue a letter to see how many members want to go, and after that, I would decide whether the panel would make a visit. So how many members are you expecting before you can make a choice? I don't know now. How many members would you need? Dr. Kwok, I've said that I don't want a debate on this. We have a very long meeting today. Chairman, can you tell us? I cannot draw the line. Some members asked whether we should follow the majority. I've said that I would not take that approach, so I would not specify a number. In the West Kowloon subcommittee, only 3 members wanted to go, and they still went ahead. Well, we are talking about 2 different committees. Mr. Wong Teng Kwang. So, members, please stop expressing your views on this. Whether or not we make a visit, this is something we have to discuss within the DAB. And time-wise, this is very rash. And we are approaching the holidays. I understand, so you don't have to elaborate on that. I don't agree with what Dr. K. Kwok said. That's you are unscrupulous. Oh, I don't really mind, Mr. Lowe Kwok. Some members said that at the PWSC meeting next Wednesday, Wang Chao might be discussed, and there's an urgency to visit Wang Chao. In fact, the agenda at the next PWSC meeting has nothing about Wang Chao. It's about Tongchong and Taipo developments. All right, Mr. Low. There's no need to elaborate on that. Mr. Lam Kwok Hong, are you on the same issue? I think the decision whether to go should not be made by circulation. You should ask Ms. Carrie Lam, John Chang, Regina Yip. I don't want to go into a debate with you. Let's move on to the third item on the agenda. items for discussion at the next meeting. The 2 papers are on the agenda. The next regular meeting would be held on 24th of January, which is a Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. The administration suggests the 3 following topics for discussion. First of all, briefing by the Secretary for Development on relevant policy agenda items in the 2017 policy address and the land supply situation. And number 2, design and construction for first stage of desalination plant at Sichuan main laying. And number 3, propose amendments to the waterworks ordinance and the waterworks regulations. Do members agree with the discussion of the 3 above items? Since the policy address would be involved or concerned. Dr. K.K. Kwok, Chairman, I'm fine with that item, but I have a request. You would issue a form on whether members want to visit Wang Chao, but I think that is not enough. We won't have time today. But in a joint meeting with the panel on housing, there won't be further meetings. So during the next meeting, well, I assume that you would be very fair. After the site visit, we should discuss issues related to Wang Chao. I understand where you're at, but next week, well, the government looks forward to a 4-hour meeting next time, and 2 hours would be spent on policy address, and we have 2 other items of 1 hour each. The next meeting will be held between 2:30 to 6:30 on the 24th of January. Mr. Lam Kwa-hong, the speaker is not coming through. All right, I've heard you. The government is disbanding. Are they going to issue a report ahead of the disbanding? This is unheard of before. Dr. K.K. Kwok, I would see how I can deal with your request. 4th item on the agenda. Mr. Lam Kwa-hong, please stop speaking to yourself at your seat. If you want to do so, please do it outside the conference room. Mr. Lam Kwa-hong, it's not your time to speak. If you want to speak, please do it outside the room. Item 4, staffing proposal on the establishment of the Sustainable Land Tower Office and reorganization of the existing development offices of the CEDD. We are looking at paper Pt1 133/1617 brackets 06 and 17. 1 issued by the administration, 1 by the Secretariat. I'd like to remind members that the government would approach the establishment subcommittee later. So at the end of the discussion, please indicate whether you approve this item. And we have 2 other papers, 147/1670-1 and 168, issued by the Safe Land Tower Alliance and Hong Kong Institute of Surveyors. Last time, a motion to adjourn proceedings was proposed, but we didn't have time to vote on that last time. Ms. Eddie Hsu, are you going to pursue this motion? Chairman. On today's agenda, the last item would be Hong Kong 2030 Plus. I'm afraid that at the end we might not have time for that. So I don't think it's appropriate to deal with this item first. Now my question was, are you going to pursue your motion to adjourn proceedings? We were dealing with this motion last time. If you want to pursue, I would continue with this. Yes, I would pursue this motion to adjourn proceedings. So, yes, you can continue unless you withdraw that motion. All right. Members waiting to speak: Ms. Holden Chow, Dr. Fernando Chang, Koke Kwok, Edward Lau, Tanya Chan, Michael Lok, Chan Pan, Lang Kwok Hong, Lan Chi Chung, and Lau Xiu Lai. Anyone else who would like to speak? Michael Tian, Yu Si Wing, Lo Ai Kwok, Cheng Chung Tai. Edward Yu. Lo Ai Kwok, Michael Tian, Yu Si Wing, Cheng Chung Tai, Edward Yu, Nathan Law, Leung Yu Chung. Leung Yu Chung has spoken, and we have Alvin Yeung, Ray Chan. 1 minute each, please. Last time, I allowed 1 minute each. According to our clock, for the motion to adjourn at the last meeting, each member had 1 minute each instead of 3 minutes. 1 minute each. Ms. Holden Chow. You already spoke last time. You were the first to speak. Last time, Eddie Chu, Leung Yu Chung, and Lo Ai Kwok already spoke. After all members have spoken and ahead of the vote, you would be given a minute. I cannot give you 2 minutes. This is not the time for negotiations. Mr. Holden Chow, 1 minute. Chairman, I think we shouldn't waste any more time. We have been discussing establishing a sustainable Lantau office for a long time. This is about the entire Lantau Island development, including Tung Chung, the Hong Kong boundary crossing facilities island, etc. All these require coordination. So in the past, at all levels, there were calls that someone needs to take up the work. If we move a motion to adjourn and etc., we can not go forward. That's all I want to say. Thank you.
Dr. Fernando Chang. Oh, he's not present. Dr. Kwok. Thank you, Chairman. If you remember, Chairman, in the last meeting, we said that by 2030, that 2030 plus should be discussed first before we talk about the staffing proposal, because I'm sure that no members will object to the government recruiting enough people to work. But we were talking about artificial island. We're talking about 400 to 500 billion. We are talking about 1,000 to 2,000 hectares of brownfield sites. It might become another white elephant project for the government, and that our money from the treasury might be used up. And there are also many companies that are also going to tender for the land, so I object to it. I am against this adjournment because I think we're spending too much time discussing on whether we should adjourn proceedings. Opening up new posts can really work in conservation, because it hasn't been enough in the past. I hope there will be better organization between conservation and development. Thank you. Ms. Tanya Chen. Oh, thank you, Chairman. I'm not sure whether you know that the government has already published the Lantau Island public consultation report without letting people know. And it's only in English. There's only a Chinese summary. And you tell us to open up posts, but you haven't told us much of the, is there going to be sauna, massage, you're going to build a bridge or something, maybe cable cars? We haven't even discussed it, and you said you want to open up a supernumerary post. Are you out of your mind? And you're only working in landscape for one part. Can you say that you're balancing out? And you talk about development. Of course, we should adjourn the proceedings. You should first tell us first. Talk about 2030 and other papers before we discuss the posts. Well, I think we should have these posts to really cater to your demands. Mr. Lok Song Hong. The pro-democratic camp is always trying to delay everything. They always talk about conservation and conduct public consultation exercise. But now, when we want to open up posts, then they tell us that, that's not good enough. And you see that there is lesser and lesser land supply. I'm not sure, whether there is any transfer of interest here. But I think that, we should really speed up our land development. And we do need the Sustainable Lantau Office to open up new posts. So I object to proceedings being adjourned. Mr. Chen Hanben, our chairman, well, they said they want to adjourn the proceedings. But the development of Lantau is not something we should discuss today. Ms. Tanya Chen said that the public exercise report was published without notification. All along, you've said that it should be from bottom to up, from bottom to top. Well, do you need anyone to organize it? Sunny Bay is also in development, Tong Chong also. So development is being done piece by piece. If there is someone to organize all the different developments, wouldn't it be much better? Why do you have to move the motion of adjourning proceedings? You're already objecting to everything. I don't think you should take this stance. I think that you're not really differentiating between right and wrong here. Mr. Leung Kwok-kong. Well, when I was taking the bus today, I heard two people talking about gangsters trying to sell off medicine. It's just like Mr. Chen Hanben. I'm just objecting to a new office. I don't think this is something that can be done. Well, do you think that Ms. Regina Ip will support this plan? The government now, people are leaving their posts. No one is doing everything. And wake up. Well, Mr. Leung Kwok-kong, you're now talking about adjourning proceedings. Can you come back to this motion? Why do you have to open up a new office? You don't even know it's going to succeed or not. Ms. Lau Siu Lai. Oh, sorry, Mr. Leung Chi-chang. Thank you, Chairman. Well, Mr. Leung Kwok-kong, yells about everything. Well, once he starts yelling, we all know that he is present. And so, the pro-democratic camp always criticizes everything, they object to everything. I think there is a need for recruiting more people, and I support the opening of more posts because the whole of Hong Kong is developing, and we do need to open up more land development. More importantly, I think the other side should really wake up. If you want Hong Kong to develop, you should move forward, and we should not be hindered. So, Chairman, I suggest submitting this proposal to the ESC. Ms. Lau Siu Lai, we've already met with the administration, and we know that there are actually many possibilities for development. So I think that we should first come up with a concept for the big framework before we look into the details such as opening up new posts. So I think that we should first talk about the macro development such as 2030 before we come to the conclusion on what posts we should open up. Well, we are just trying to look into the macro development before we focus on the micro points. Thank you. Mr. Michael Tan. Chairman, those who object say that East Lantau should not develop and therefore the proceedings should be adjourned. Right now, traffic problems are making the East Lantau residents suffer. The government is trying to come up with a solution. Those who support adjournment of proceedings are not empathetic towards the Lantau residents. They want to adjourn the proceedings, which means that it's just like the residents will continue having to take transport to the airport before they can come out to the city. There are about 1 million people doing the same every day. Well, I think the Hong Kong public should really look clearly who's objecting to this development. Mr. Yu Si Wing, I also object to adjournment of proceedings. There would be many new developments in Lantau which could help solve housing issues. And we do need a team to explore and try to work on facility building. I'm not sure why setting up an office and reorganizing the CEDD has any issues. We're not talking about asking for funding. We need more people to really work on these matters. So I believe that this proposal is very suitable, and I support bringing it to the ESC. Mr. Cheng Song Tai. Thank you, Chairman. I support the motion. First of all, the consultation of 2030 will be completed in April, and in the plan, it mentioned that the Lantau office will also be working on some projects that are overlapping with the 2030 plan. Well, nothing has been decided yet, so I don't believe that we should set up a Lantau office now. I'm sure that the current government can already handle all the matters. For example, the SLO said that there would be a silver mine music festival on the beach. But, this is what Hon SHIU Ka-chun has been doing all the time. This is already done by the Hon SHIU Ka-chun, so I don't think you should take over the responsibility. Therefore, I don't believe that the office can be sustainable. And there are also many information that has not yet been confirmed, so I support the motion. Mr. Yu Chong Yim. Thank you, Chairman. We held a meeting with the CDD before, and we see that, the name of the office has been changed from Lantau Office to Sustainable Lantau Office. Therefore, anyone taking up the post must be working on sustainability. We suggest that there be more high-level landscape designers and also someone to control the cost. So I think that there is a need to adjourn proceedings for the government to relook into the proposal That would be more suitable. Mr. Nathan Low. Thank you, Chairman. It doesn't mean that since we're asking for adjournment of the proceedings that we are not allowing traffic development to be improved. Yes, there was public consultation, but we understand that even if we're opening up a post, we must first have a blueprint or a strong foundation of how the development will be in the future. We need to understand if we really need the CEDD to support the developments. A colleague has already mentioned that public consultation for 2030 plus has not been completed yet, and there should be ample discussion of 2030 before we decide on the setting up of the office. Therefore, I also support the motion. Mr. Elvin Young. Thank you, Chairman. Once again, we hear from the pro-establishment camp just supporting this development. But you know, things change so fast. You don't know what's going to happen in half a year. We don't support opening a post. Doesn't mean that we do not support traffic development, which has been pointed out by Nathan Lowe. So you don't need to be too agitated about it. Maybe half year later, you will be in a higher post and you'll be able to solve the traffic arrangement in Dongchong. So don't worry about that, Mr. Tian. I'm sure lots could be done in half a year. Mr. Chen Chi-chun. Mr. James Tan shouldn't be so naive as to believe the government. He thinks that only the government opening up the post would resolve the issues. If we insist on not allowing the setting of the office, the government will still need to face all these problems. When this was proposed half a year ago, it was called Lantau Office. No, many of them cannot really tell us the full name of the office because the office name has now changed to Sustainable Lantau Office. Look at the paper at the ESC in June. The term sustainable was not included. Here you said that there would be an officer in charge of conservation here. Deputy Chair, thank you. I am against the motion because I think that there is a need to set up an office in Lantau Office to help with the organization of the development, and so I'm in support of the government. Actually, logic is very clear. We have a blueprint, which is the Hong Kong 2030 Plus. This includes many plans, including the Sustainable Lantau Office. The blueprint is still under consultation right now. There would be a East Lantau metropolis with 1,000 to 2,000 hectares of artificial island. That's very controversial, which is still under discussion. But now you're already talking about setting up an office. Are we putting the cart before the horse? We still haven't come up with a set blueprint. Why are we going into the details of setting up an office? So I think that we should adjourn the discussion on this item and talk about 2030 plus before we move on to item. I said plus. You know, my years are not too great. Well, does the government have any? Would the government like to speak? Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Loy already spoke last time, so you cannot speak again. Mr. Hon, thank you, Chairman. The staffing proposal has already been brought to the ESC last time, and it was approved. Originally, we were going to put it up to the Finance Committee in July, but unfortunately, we were not able to get our chance. Lantau is very important to the benefit of Hong Kong, and so we hope that we'll be able to set up the office as soon as possible to open up posts to work on short-term and long-term projects. There is a need to work on housing, conservation, leisure, and so we do need such an office to help us with this kind of work. We're going to work on development and conservation. I know that many members were concerned with development in the previous year, and I'm willing to answer questions later on. I just want to express our hope that this can be passed as soon as possible so that our colleagues will be able to work from the Lantau office. Mr. Ju Ho-tek, you have 1 minute to respond. Thank you, Chairman. I hope you all understand that I'm moving this motion because the discussion is very limited. Because we should first discuss the macro development of 2030 plus before we move on to the detailed discussions. Well, if we first discuss the blueprint, then it will be much easier for us to move on to the office establishment. And I do want to tell to Mr. Michael Tan that Tung Chung residents are finding it difficult in transportation because transportation is very expensive. I hope that the public will also remember you because fees for the Western Rail is also very expensive. I just hope that we do not continue this line of discussion any longer. Thank you. We do have an electronic voting system in place today, so I hope that you would all go back to your own spot. I'm sure that you're already in your own seats right now. I just want to make sure. Now, we can put this item to the vote. For those who support the motion, please raise your hands. I claim a division for the vote. The bell will ring for 5 minutes.
Now we are voting on a motion to adjourn the debate on the SAO. Mrs. Tanya Chen mentioned that we were not too clear about the whole title of the item, but we are now voting by pressing a button, so you should go back to your seats. So you should press the button, your presence, and then you choose one among the three. Before I announce the results, please check your vote. Now it's the results of the vote. 15 for, 21 against. So this motion is rejected. Now we come back to the item of the agenda. Mr. Kokake, we have 3 minutes each. The debate will continue until 9:45. I don't want to come back to this item, so I will be very strict on your time limits. If the government administration cannot answer you verbally, they will provide as soon as possible written replies. 3 minutes will be enough. Mr. Leung Go-hong, I need to balance out. Very often, your interventions are not relevant to the item. You continue speaking only. Are you raising your hands, Mr. Fernando? Well, so we are queuing up for the order to speak. Mr. Yong Yu-chung, I would like to ask, when time is up, when the administration cannot answer it verbally, they will give us written replies. Do you mean that the system will be finished, the debate? You won't come back to it? Well, that will be up to administration. When they have, this is, we're going through the motion and then it will go to the ESC. Well, if we need to speak more, well, I hope that you will concentrate on your interventions, because the last legislature had already debated on it when we have come back to it several times. Now, it is for the time being, I will see if we need to have another meeting. I would like you to raise questions. Well, 3 or 4 minutes, that will allow you to raise brief questions that will be briefly replied. If they cannot have enough time to reply, they will give you written replies. This is how we will deal with it. I'll call Mr. Kokake, Mr. Mako Tin, Alice Mack, Ju Hoi Dek, Zheng Chong Tai, Yu Chong Yim. Kokake, 3 minutes. Chairman, it is the Trojan horse, because when you have these directorate posts, you have listed out the jobs. They have already been undertaken or they have been discussed at the LegCo before. For instance, enhancement of Mui Wo, the mountain bike trail, the Sichuan, etc. They have been debated. The public is worried about the use of these funds, that they will be used to construct the artificial island. Perhaps you can answer 2 questions. First of all, for the directorate posts, well, they have nothing to do with the enhancement of the Lantau Island. You have the GPOs, chief engineers. Well, they are for the town planning. It's in section B. That is to say, you want to have the engineering projects done. You have hundreds of billions of dollars and work to be carried out by these engineers. Well, such works have been done before. Are you taking this chance because you want to complete the East Lantau project, or the 689 Leung Chun-ying, he was going to go forward with the White Elephant project. This administration is not going to last long, and the new CE, I wonder if it will be a 689 CE again, but the new CE should not have a project and causing damage to the environment. If you are throwing money to this White Elephant project, how are you going to end up finishing it off? Now, I have already said that the Lantau Island project is very important for the overall interest of Hong Kong, and some of our colleagues are undertaking part of the work concerned. It is a very heavy workload. Apart from the development Mr. Kwok Ka-ge is much concerned with, we have a lot of conservation work also to be done. Now, if we don't have a dedicated multidisciplinary SLO to work together, such work cannot be done in a proper manner. Now, what if there's a change of CE? What are we going to do? Well, this is a hypothesis, difficult to answer. Mr. Michael Tian, don't frighten us. Is he coming back? Is the CE coming back? Well, how can you have a hypothesis of what would happen with a new CE? The administration should have continuity. Well, if the hypothesis whether it would be Mrs. Carrie Jen or Mr. John Chang, you can continue without end for this surmise. Now, for the April 16 public hearing, the light rail is mentioned. Now, studying this light rail system will need about 10 years, and it will need scores of billions. And how long have the residents to wait, the Tongcheng residents to wait? Well, with limited resources, there is a very rapid scheme that can be done, because this light rail is going to share with the East Rail the bridge. So you can use the express airport line rail. You can build a circle light train, and you can converge it with the airport and also the expo. Now, we need to enlarge the platform in the Tongcheng station, and with a new signaling system, and it will need about 3 billion. Now, since we have to limit the ticket fare, the fare rate about $5 or $6 for one way. Now, perhaps 5 billion will be enough for the project, and it will be a big saving as from with respect to the 10 million projected, and it could be done by the year 2023. Well, you can have a work certificate for the Tongcheng residents that they could have a monthly card. Now, you are coming back here for money. Well, there is then L3. L3 is the CEL3 is to take care of infrastructure and transport. Well, is it qualified to study the project I mentioned? How much time would we need, and the budget that would we need? Well, that will also rope in the Development Bureau. Thank you, Mr. Tian, for his concern about the area transport. I think that this is a good suggestion. With the establishment of the SL, we will consider different ideas. For instance, the light rail, a better use of the MTR that we have now existing. Well, I hope that you will do so. Mrs. Alice Mack. The SLO has been on the table for a long time. We have discussed it at the last legislature. Apart from the future development, the infrastructure, transport, sewage, and road system in the Lantau have to be resolved. Now, every time when we speak about the road design in Lantau Island, there are several departments and bureaus involved. Perhaps this SLL can unified and coordinate together. Apart from development, would the SLO also solve the existing amenities and infrastructure problems? Once the SL is set up, we will take care of all concerns, for instance, transport and traffic, conservation, as well as what Mrs. Mack mentioned, the transport scheme. Perhaps the the director for the public engagement, a lot of ideas is expressed, and we have conducted work in the areas mentioned. In Mui Wo, we have undertaken some enhancement, and in Tongchong, we are also undertaking improvements for Ma Wan. And for the SLO, once it is set up, we will also enhance the village livelihood, the traffic, as well as the sewage for the villagers. Thank you. Ms. Mack, we hope that the SLO would not only take care of the design, future design, or conservation or development, but for the villagers now living there, they lack infrastructure and amenities. We hope that the SLO will resolve their problems as soon as possible, especially in the sewage problem as well as the traffic problem. So we hope that such problems will be resolved as well. We will. Once this SLO is set up, we will have enough manpower. Would you, would the FTU support this? Mr. Kwok-ka-K, would the Civic Party support it? Will be against it? Mr. Fernando Chang. This reorganization, you added the word sustainable to the title, the Sustainable Lantau Office. Many colleagues pointed out that there's only one in charge of forestry in all the added posts. Page 4, from A to P, there are dozens of items. There's only one on conservation. All the rest are the infrastructure, artificial island, reclamations, enhancement works, etc. All these are development projects. And you have also roped in Pt1 as well as the mine. That is strange. If you are really looking for sustainable development, you should take on to as a whole the environmental assessment, especially the receiving capacity, traffic problem, the heritage conservation, etc., as well as indexes. And the environment department should also take part. It is not only the CEDD that is in charge. So sustainability, is it only a word or is there any substance to it?
Permanent Secretary, in Lantau, 70% of the area are country parks. We also have 8 sites of scientific significance and sites for other conservation purposes. So in terms of Lantau development, we are trying to enhance conservation and the use of natural resources. As for our overall policy, we are trying to develop the North and conserve the South. Can the government answer my question on the which officers in the new office would be in charge of the list of work or tasks? In the previous term of LegCo, I explained that the professionals in the SLO would only be responsible for development according to some members, but it's clear that our professionals would also take care of conservation. So all of the officers would take part in the baseline survey, EIA study, capacity study, antiquity studies, etc. They would all be in charge of these work. They have the knowledge. As for the need to conduct baseline surveys or EIAs for projects, well, for the new posts, which of them are related to the tasks I mentioned? It's still too early to say, Chairman. He failed to answer this simple question. I've listed all these areas of work. What does it mean by sustainability? So can you provide a written response first? Dr. Fernando Chung, do you support this item? If he failed to answer my questions, of course, I would not support it. Mr. Leung Yu-chung. Chairman. You listed 16 areas of work under the SLO. At least 5 of them are already underway. Three others are pending consensus at district levels. And there is an additional item on the Silver Mine Bay Music Festival. The festival has been organized for years. It has achieved great success every year. So you said you are going to promote this event. I think you don't have to do anything about this. You are trying to come up with a long list, that's my impression, so that you can create an office. Chairman, this is a very bad practice. You are misleading the public. You have multiple works, especially the Tongchong New Town Extension Project, and in B, engineering infrastructural works for housing development in Area 54 Tongchong. This is something which has commenced already, so why are you including it? Are you trying to show that you have a heavy workload and as such you must create this office? So my question is, if you don't create the office, can you still carry out these works? I don't agree that we are trying to create a long list. As I said, Lantau development is enormous in scale, and there is a lot to be done in conservation and development. If we do not set up the SLO, the work would be taken up by existing staff. We can still continue. So what's the difficulty in that? The problem is that we would not have a dedicated office to coordinate different professionals. So the work would not be, the quality would not be satisfactory, and there's a lack of coordination. Are you saying that you must be in the same office to get work done? Why does the SLO have to promote a music festival? Is this part of your work? They are already promoting it. You don't have much time. Permanent Secretary, for the Silver Mine Music Festival, it's only an example. We want to enhance our district work. What kind of district work are you talking about? You said you want to publicize and promote this festival. Do you agree? Do you support this item? No. Mr. Michael, thank you. Introducing more manpower to speed up the work and enhance quality. This is only natural. So I support the creation and establishment proposal of the SLO. There are various issues in the area, including restricted areas, narrow roads, etc. Lantau and Tongchong lack employment opportunities, and this must be improved. You included the important element of sustainability, and this is nice to see. So I have a question for the opposition camp. They criticize the lack of consultation towards Lantau development. So I like the Secretary to talk about the past consultation work. I'd like you to explain the concept of 2030 plus as well. This is a conceptual master plan. So do we have to confirm the plans throughout Hong Kong before anything can be done? I would talk about the second question first. For Hong Kong 2030 plus, it is a territory-wide blueprint spanning 2030 and beyond. And two concepts were involved, including anti-North and East Lantau metropolis, and they do not conflict with the existing Lantau developments. 2030 plus is about the entire territory, including East Lantau. Lantau developments include the ELM. Early this year, we conducted an in-depth public consultation, so perhaps I would invite Mr. Robin Lee to talk about the consultation outcome. Thank you very much. From January to March this year, we conducted a 3-month public consultation, and we received more than 23,000 submissions. And we drew a few conclusions. We had 3 PE sessions with more than 33 forums. So we drew 2 main conclusions. First of all, in general, the public supports the Lantau development proposals. And number 2, most people support a balanced and green development and the relevant vision. Ms. Eddie Hsu. Thank you. I'd like to follow up on Dr. Fernando Chang's question. You said you want to strike a balance between development and conservation in Lantau. For a new office under the Development Bureau and CEDD, would this achieve the purpose? So I have 2 questions. First of all, you need to seek funding at the ESC for the new posts. For the funding application, how much would be spent as salaries for staff responsible for engineering and staff for conservation work, respectively? If you are to strike a balance, introducing extra manpower is not enough. If you are asking for more money for infrastructure development, you must have relevant policies and ordinances to protect vulnerable ecologies. For example, along the South Lantau shoreline, according to the town planning ordinance, no DPA has been drafted, and there is a lot of fly tipping. So would the EPD plug these legal loopholes? Permanent Secretary. First of all, on the division of duties under the new SLO, and as I said, we have professional or technical staff. Apparently, they are only responsible for development, but this is not the fact. We would strike a balance between conservation and development. We have a landscaping team. As for the South Lantau shoreline and the relevant destruction, which you compensate for the DPA, we can think about the details later. For certain ecologically sensitive areas like Shui or Pt1, we would think about the work to be done. But without a new office, we cannot conduct such work. With the new office, hopefully we can focus on these areas of work. Do you support his proposal? No. Right now, very little money is spent for conservation. Dr. Cheng Chong-tai. Thank you. I do not support the setting up of the SLO. First of all, I have a question for the Permanent Secretary. What are the consultation periods and completion periods of the 2030 plus, and is there any overlap with the work of the SLO? Dr. Chang might be concerned that before 2030 plus is implemented, should this office be set up? As I said before, consultation for 2030 plus is underway, but there is no conflict at all with the setting up of the SLO. Lantau developments were proposed in the previous term of LegCo, and it had been debated. Hong Kong 2030 Plus is a master plan for Hong Kong, and East Lantau Metropolis and relevant developments are also covered. And there is no conflict at all with development of Lantau. I do not agree with the PS. I think some parts are being covered up. There is some overlap between SLO and 2030 plus. For example, development of East Lantau and the Central Waters Artificial Islands. All these are subject to under consultation at the 2030 plus. I hope the government can explain why they have to set up this office before the consultation is completed. Permanent Secretary, if Dr. Chang is concerned about the Central Waters Artificial Islands, the reclamation at the Central Waters are not a new proposal. It was proposed in 2011, and at that time we already said that we need land in Hong Kong and how we can expand the source of land in Hong Kong. Land reclamation is the best and fastest way to provide land. Chairman, I think the government misunderstood my question. It's not about when it was proposed, but the fact is the plan is still under consultation. Why is there a need to set up a new office? As we said, public consultation was carried out early this year. Professor Yu, as the Deputy Secretary or Deputy Director said, after 3 months of consultation, you introduced the word sustainability. However, the attitude is still the same as before the consultation. The Permanent Secretary said land reclamation is the best way to provide land. The public would feel that they are not being consulted. you must convince the public. Adding the word sustainability is not convincing enough. I have suggested to the government that the head of the SLO should be a landscape architect or at least a planning officer. This way, the public would be convinced that their views or calls for sustainability is respected. So your job includes monitoring costs. So you should introduce a building quantity surveyor to take up the work. On the quantity surveyor, there is one such post in the office. As for the professionals required, we would monitor the situation. As I said, this office is multidisciplinary in nature. So for surveyors, architects, engineers, or landscape architects, we do have the headcounts. After reading the public engagement report from early this year, we realized that there are calls for conservation, and we have enhanced that aspect. And we will look to improve our work in the next phase. But the bottom line is that we need to first set up the office, and we will be well placed to carry out the work. There are no landscape architects in the senior roles, and the most senior role is deputy head, which would be taken up by a planner. I think we would look at the deployment later. At this stage, we feel we should engage a town planner to look at the overall planning. So can a town planner be the head of this office? Do you support this proposal? He doesn't. If he supports my proposal, I would support his project. All right. So at the ESC, you can seek his support again. Ms. Tanya Chen, I can tell you upfront that I would not support his proposal. He said that for the sustainable Lantau office, so I don't know what it implies. Perhaps even if Mr. 689 is not here, the office would sustain. So without him, I don't know how important this SLO would be. He said the SLO has no conflict with Hong Kong 2030 Plus, and well, they can even strike a synergy. This is the consultation document for ELM, and in Annex 1, the reclamation works are listed. I also have a copy of the summary, a new space or Lantau space for all. There would be a spa hotel at Sichuan. So for the SLO, apart from point 9, in paragraph 10, you said it would an overall transport assessment would be conducted for Lantau Island. So are you going to study these areas, including using country park space for residential developments, etc.? And you said a casino would be provided. So can the SLO confirm this proposal of space for Lantau and the items within it? Permanent Secretary. So the document you referred to was a working report of the Lantau Development Advisory Committee. So perhaps my colleague can talk about it. point 10 in the annex said that the proposals under the land deck would be implemented. Over the 3-month consultation period, we received diverse views from the public. As for leisure and cultural services, etc.
Many members of the general public support conservation, but how about for individual projects? If we receive more negative comments on certain projects, then we will be more prudent in consideration. How about using country parkland? Should I point it out that in the space for land town, then there's land will be used for housing? I'm sorry, your time is up, Ms. Chan. Mr. Leung Kwok-kong. Chairman, I hear Mr. Hon say that the consultation has gone on for a long period of time. How did you carry out consultation before? You didn't mention any of it. The previous 2 consultations were not refined at all. I want to confirm that there are not too many people supporting the DAB camp. And even Mr. Holden Chow, he said that he had the support of 3 million. He lost the support of 3 million people in Hong Kong, and he still said he represents the people of Hong Kong. You consulted on Tung Chung for a long time. Originally there were around 80,000 people living, but now there are much more. I think tourists exceed the number of residents right now. Why isn't the airport express working? Well, yes, you can still continue. It will just be a failure. Nobody takes the airport express. Did you not consult this before you built the airport express? Did you not open up new posts at that time? Why has it become a failure? Well, how come Tung Chung is so unsuccessful? Well, you ask the government to speak about that, but you don't let him speak. Well, I don't know where you were at that time. You were still not at this post. Where were you when it all began? When the airport express was being designed, were you already in the government? Were you in the civil service? I don't even know where you were at that time. So tell me, what were you doing at that time? When the airport express was being built, when it was being consulted, and Tung Chung development was being developed, what was your post back then? Did you forget? Well, I haven't asked him to reply. Well, last time you asked him to reply, you continued to talk. So I'm not sure whether you want him to answer right now. You know, he still wants to respond. All right. Well, you used up 15 seconds. I've asked you a few times whether he could respond. Mr. Hon, please. Chairman, I don't understand where the failure is. Tung Chung development will continue. Well, originally, you know, what was the plan of the population of Tung Chung? What was the plan for Airport Express? How many people actually take it now? Otherwise, no, Michael Tien wouldn't have to teach you how to go ahead. Mr. Holden Chow. Oh, well, finish talking on your phone before you come back in. Mr. Holden Chow. Chairman, I support the opening of these new posts. I heard many colleagues say just now that even without the SLO or the new posts, the land town issue can still be resolved. I have to point out that they misunderstood. In the past, I think friends working on the outlying islands, district office would understand that people will continue to work individually. Mr. Leung Kwok-hong said that there are some failures in or some areas lacking in the Tung Chung development, but you have to understand that there was no consolidation in work in the last government. It's only until now that due to the requests of many LegCo members and the general public that we are able to really reorganize and work in consolidation. I think if you continue to object, it's not conducive to the future development of Tung Chung and Lantau at all. There are two items in this paper. One is the TCNTE, and second, the study of Lantau traffic. On the study on its capacity to receive visitors for Lantau. Well, with the new third runway in the airport, you could also bring in 100,000 job opportunities. We want people to be able to find jobs where they live. But right now, we only rely on land transportation to reach the airport. That's really not enough. We could have extension on light rail or other modes of transportation. But this is not something that one office can work on. We will need the transport department to work together with us. If there is no post to organize and to monitor the development, I'm sure that nothing can be done. Therefore, Chairman, I support the opening of these new posts, and I do hope that we can continue to improve the development of Lantau in all areas. Thank you. So the DAB supports it, right? Yes. Mr. Hon SHIU Ka-chun want to talk just now, but he's not present now. Mr. Yek Ji-ming, does your party support this proposal? Yes. I just received Mr. Chu Hoi-dik's motion that one of the important works of the SLO is the strategic study on the artificial island, and that it requests that all the feasibility studies in the past, including the Green Island Link preliminary feasibility study in the 1990s and the Railway Strategic Study 2000 and the third comprehensive transport study and the new territories development strategic contents to be submitted to the panel for further discussion. Does the government have all these papers? Well, I think we should have some of them. Well, Mr. Chu, so where did these studies come from? Mr. Chu, the first one, the Green Island Link preliminary feasibility study was done by the Highways Department, but the public has been trying to get a copy of it, but they are not, but to no avail. So this is not from the Development Bureau. It is, this is under the Development Bureau. Yes. Oh, the Highways Department. No, it's under, is it under the Transport Department? No, that's not your bureau. Well, this study, is actually, also what should I do if it's not under the Development Bureau? Mr. Chu, I don't think we need to move a motion today. I have received your comments. I can go approach the bureaus on your behalf and see whether this could be made available for you. Well, I have to ask you, are these completed reports? Well, yes, these reports have already been carried out. I just want to say that, yes, and well, what we usually get is, the is a summarized version. I want to see the full report because we are now in discussion on this topic. I'm not sure even if we pass this non-binding motion, whether the government will be willing to submit you to the entire report, even if this motion is passed. I'm not sure whether the government will give it to you. Well, even if they edit it, at least I would still get a copy or some of it. How about we hear from Mr. Cheng Chong Tai first, and then we can further talk about it. Chairman, sustainable land town office will be I think they should be able to get all these papers because they would be organizing the entire land town development. Well, since this is non-binding, even though you pass it, they're not going to do it. How about I act on your behalf? Well, I still want the opportunity to move a motion and then to see if you could assist me. Well, yes, I said I'm willing to ask on behalf of you as chairman to approach the various departments because we have overrun for 30 minutes. Well, you've already read it out, but after reading your motion, I don't think we need to move a motion. Well, if you think that it's non-binding, so why can't we move a motion on this? It is because of time. Well, I need to try to balance out the time. I cannot refuse our colleagues to continue discussion. I cannot just say that, all right, you read it out, I read it out, and then we vote on it. Even if we support it, it's still me as the chairman who will be approaching the departments for the papers. No, I don't think we should waste the time because if I allow you, I'm not refusing your motion. I just think that there is no need for such a motion because this is not something strategic that we need to talk right now. Believe in me, I will approach the departments on your behalf, and it might be much faster than you moving a motion and waiting for the response. So you refuse to allow me to move a motion. I'm not refusing it, and you don't allow people to vote. We have 50 odd members here. Even if we speak 3 minutes each, we're talking about 3 hours. Well, I understand that even in the financial panel on financial services, when talk about Disneyland, there's no time to speak. You only read out your motion. Well, Mr. Chu, thank you for reminding me that some panels do not allow members to speak on motions. But I don't think we need to move a motion right now. We can still approach the government for the studies. Well, I hope that there is a chance to vote because the panel is not your panel. As you said, there are 50 odd members. But now I'm saying that let's assume that your motion is passed. It's non-binding. The government still doesn't need to heed your request. I can request on your behalf. You're just one of 50. Well, yes, I'm the chairman. Well, even though you didn't vote for me, I'm still the chairman, voted by others. Dr. Lower Court, I don't want to debate on this topic. Chairman, we're just talking today whether we support the establishment of the SLO for detailed work and in moving a motion about it. This can take forever. I think that in discussions, you can request the government for more information. It happens all the time. If all such requests become motions, I don't know, how the meetings can be continued. So I support your decision, Chairman. Thank you. Well, yes, we have already overrun for quite some time. We're now going to move on to the next agenda item. I said that I don't think we need to move such a motion at this time. I will ask the government for the papers. If I'm unable to get it, then I will deal with it. So you want me? So, well, I've already done my job in trying to help you request. The next agenda item is 3185 GK. I've already asked you when you spoke whether you support it. I don't think we need to vote on it again. Oh, yes. Because I've already asked each person whether you support this. I don't think it needs to go. It needs to be voted on because we've already recorded who supports it and who objects to it. There's already someone in your party who's against it. So I don't think we need to vote on this item because I've already asked each and every one of you. Thank you. We have put it down on record. This is not a vote. This is because this needs to go up to the ESC. The government will just need to consider whether to bring this to the ESC. The next agenda item. PWSC 3185 GK. Rules of procedure. Well, Chairman, I think we need to vote on it. It's not whether you feel there is a need or not. Well, because I seek legal advice. I seek legal advice, Chairman. Well, but there are some who didn't speak and they didn't express whether they are in support or object to it. So I request to seek legal advice. I request legal advice whether I've already made a decision that there is no need to claim a division and to vote on it. It's not whether you think it's that there is a need or not, because I don't believe there is a need for legal advice. And you cannot just request legal advice. I think, no, well, yes, 689 is leaving. You're now in EXCO, but it doesn't matter. You ask how many of them object to claiming a discussion. Mr. SHIU Ka-chun, Chairman, I haven't expressed my vote, so I need to vote. Well, yes, I hear you. Well, so what is? I would like to vote on my stance. Well, I did that when you spoke. Usually for items that are only here for discussion, then we don't need to vote on it because it will be voted at the ESC. Well, I didn't express, my views. So can I vote on it? I've already said that there is no need to vote on it. Oh, we cannot vote on these discussions that are meant to be brought to USC or PWSC each time. I have heard your views, and when you spoke individually, well, I didn't indicate my wish to speak. Can I vote? So that's why I'm asking you: are you in support it or against it? I just want to put it on record. Are you in support or against it? So why can't we just vote on it? Agenda item number 5. 3185 GK. Mr. Leung Kwok-kong, it's not the time for you to speak right now. 3185 GK, reprovisioning of Transport Department's vehicle examination centers at Tsing-yi. This is also a discussion for a submission to the PWSC. Mr. Leung Kwok-kong, can you? Well, I did not ask you to speak. Please do not speak and yell out from your seat. Rules of procedure. I'm sorry, the mic is not on.
我哋而家休會5分鐘。
Well, we are now suspending the meeting for 5 minutes.